In just about a minute, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Hi, creatives. My name is Mina. I'm from Olo, and we're going to be doing some coloring today. We're going to be working on some delicious donuts. These are line art created from the one and only Alisa Suzuki. So let's go ahead and jump right in and see what we are going to be working with today. Should be really fun. So, oh, hello, Kim. Welcome. So I believe Kim's going to be jumping in and moderating today. So hello, Kim. All right, let me just adjust my desk cam just a little bit. Try and get the best view possible. My apologies. I'm still forever playing with this desk setup because I want to make sure that we do have best quality that we can. There we go. I think pretty good aside from a little bit of the wobbles. Should be much better. So you should be able to see my markers here. We have our test paper, so I can go ahead and put everything down. And yeah, and our actual line art's really pretty. So I did go ahead and do one ahead of time. Not quite complete, but this is more or less the direction that we're going to be going in. And I will admit, I was very, very hungry when I was doing this. So I think Alisa knows I love sweets a lot. So she's probably going to continue to draw me lots and lots of sweets. So if you don't know, this line art is available on our website under the resources page, so you can go ahead and download that completely for free and color along if you like. So the colors that we're going to be using today are all along here, and if you're following on the replay, you will be able to see these in the description so you can know exactly which ones that we are doing. As I'm going to be working, I will be taking a swatch and writing down exactly what color that it is, so we can stay consistent. And I do want you guys to know that even though I'm using these colors, everything that I do and every technique that I teach here, you will absolutely be able to apply it to really any color family inside here as long as you understand the dark to light or light to dark shading. So should be very, very nice. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start coloring some donuts. And of course, I want to start off with the sprinkles right here. My favorite donut is the strawberry donut. So I absolutely love this guy. Over here, I do have it set up that I'm going to, these are more or less going to be the colors I'm going to use for our donut here. So on one side, we have R55, R0.3, RV04, and R5.1. On the other side, we have R53, R0.1, RV04, and R5.7. So these are going to be the ones, and as I work with these, I will swatch them right over here as well. So let me go ahead and put these to the side right here since we're going to be working on this guy first. So I believe we are going to be starting off with an R5.3. So I'm going to go over here and we're just going to gently swatch it. It's a nice soft color. What you'll notice is that this is a 5.3, so that 3 being the value, it is a mid tone, and the 5 also being a mid, so it doesn't have as much pink in it as a lot of other colors would. The other end is the R5.1, so these guys are going to be blending buddies. And you can see how these guys will very easily play off each other. Let me put this guy over here. Let's write this down really quick. R5.3, R5.1. There we go. Just slide that right over here for now. A little workspace. So let me go ahead and take these guys off. And let's get started. So we're going to start with the lighter side first. And we need to work around these sprinkles. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the side of the brush here. And we're just going to gently stroke along the edge. I don't want you to touch the edge with it. We like to leave a little gap there because we want this to be extra drippy. We want that frosting to be like freshly on there. So when you look at it, you go, I want a donut. We're not sponsored by any donut company, but I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Olo, but I am more than willing to eat a ton of donuts and for sponsorship. Kathy, morning, finally at the computer at the right time. Oh, welcome, Kathy. Very happy. So notice I'm just working around these sprinkles. This is going to work to our benefit. We're just sort of doing like a little fill. And this is going to help create a shine. Because again, if we want that really goopy, tasty frosting, you know, you got to do that push and pull, the light to dark. All right. I think that is not half bad. And you guys can already see like it's starting to build. That's what I like about alcohol markers, is the kind of build. Kim says that we should be sponsored by a donut company. Let's make it happen. The official donut of Olo. The flavors are the names of our colors. Goodness gracious. So we're going in, we're doing the same thing. So this one we're using the R5.3. Remember, we have our blending buddies. So we're gonna, for what I tend to do is light, and then I flip over to dark. It's really easy. You're gonna notice what I've done, and if you've been here a couple times, I tend to do a lot of like dabbling. So I'll like go, and then I flip over, and I blend it, and then I flip back over. So I tend to do that. And you can do that with these markers, which is really wonderful. So all the bigger areas of the lighter part, I'm going in and I'm just dabbing. Because I want to build up that goop. That tasty, tasty frosting goop. There we go. All right, so let's flip over to our R5.1 and let's blend these guys. So I'm going to go in to the edges of my darker. And I'm just going to go ahead and dab on top of it and let the lighter color push that darker one around, because I always say it. But the lighter colors will always beat up those darker ones. So it's a very forgiving medium. Now, it does depend on the paper that you're using and, you know, the amount that you're saturating it or how long you're letting it dry. Those are all components to this. But that is where coloring is just so much fun, because there's no wrong or right. There is not. Like, the way I teach this is very different from the way other people teach it. And what's really fun is I'm always learning as I go too, because these are still new markers. So there's still so much to explore with these. So if you find something that you think is really neat, I really want you guys to share that with me or with really anybody. Anybody within Olo. We love hearing about what you guys figure out. Cheryl. Hello, Cheryl. It's okay. Don't worry about being late. It's all right. We don't take attendance here. But I am so happy you're here. I love getting to see you. So, and I hope you're doing well. I think it's like 65 degrees here in New York. It's a little drizzly sometimes, but it's such a nice day out today. So I think after this, I'm probably gonna take my coloring on the road and go for a little walk, find some flowers and color them in, because it's just such a perfect day for that. All right, so you can see where we're getting that build up. It's really like starting to pop through. And even if I bring this in a little closer, here we go, bring it on down and hopefully not lose my camera while I'm at it. I'm so sorry. There we go. Okay. So you can see where it's starting to build up. So we're doing pretty good. Let's try a different color. So let's go ahead and cap these guys. And I'm going to bring it right over here since I have used this guy, but it'll be on standby. We will probably go back to this color because this is like our base. So I have a couple other colors here. Why don't we go super soft with it and let's use an R0.1. On the other end here, we have our very, very vibrant RV04. And you're going to notice my RV04, I'm going to be using the chisel for this guy. The brush I love to use for, brushy stuff. You brush, brush, brush. Chisel has a really cool ability to have like the harder edges. So I really like that. So sometimes with some like detail work when I need a lot of saturation, I will use the chisel rather than the brush. But that's a me thing. That is absolutely a me thing. Okay, so this is our R01. Okay. And this is going to be our pop color. This is what's going to like really make this pop out. And this is with our chisel. Because this is an RV and it's super, super saturated because we have it on the 0. So very, very, very saturated. And then leaning into 4. So 4 is still a mid-tone. So it's not super dark. It really is very much a moderate. RV04, there we go. Wow, look at how much that pops out compared to these guys. So this is going to be fun. All right, so with our lightest tone, the R01, we're going to go in and just softly fill in some of the white spots here. So some of the page. We're not going to go super crazy. Just little hints here and there. Still try not to touch the edge too much. We're just working inside here. I notice I'm kind of filling in some of these sprinkles on accident. This is our lightest tone. I'm really not worried about it. Even if we go over in a darker tone, again, light tones always beat up like what's happening. It's supposed to be 80 here on Sunday in California. Whoa. I get, that does make sense. Wow, 80. We'll get there. New York, I want to say once we hit May, we'll start hitting like 70s and 80s, like late May. There we go. Just nice and soft. Just basically tapping our brush. We're not even really applying any real pressure. Just little taps and let that sort of bleed out. Just let it spread. Perfect. All right, let's grab our chisel. I love this part. All right, so the RV04, it's our chisel. And now these darker parts here, you're going to see. I'm going to try and even get even closer if I can, because I really want you guys to see this. So these darker parts, see how it's sort of creating this pool here? We're just going to dab with the edge. So, oops, I always get it on my fingers. So you have this tip right here. You want to be using that. Don't use this guy because you're going to have a little less control. You use the bottom edge when you want to do a big fill. When you're working with small space, you're using the very, very tip right there. And always very, very juicy. So you don't need to apply any real pressure. We're just going to dab. And just kind of follow that darker line that's there. You can see the way that's kind of cascading. You just want to follow that. And just little dabs. Just almost like stippling. If I have any tattoo friends watching, you guys probably know about this stippling quite a bit. We were actually just talking about tattoo art just a little bit ago. It's such a unique way of working, for sure. Becky, handcrafts, I am sorry, I forgot I have a meeting. Thank you, and I look forward to future classes. Oh, Becky, have a wonderful meeting. Don't worry, we're going to have a replay. So just, thank you. Just thank you for being here. Let me uncap these guys. I'm still training myself to keep these guys uncapped. Because you don't need a cap, like, especially when you're switching between two. All right, we're going to take our light tone here. And we're going to tap the very bottom of it. We're not like going over the whole thing, just a little. Because what we're really doing is we're using it as a buffer to start to spread our darker color. There we go. And don't worry if it's too strong. It's okay. All art goes through an ugly phase. Every single art piece goes through an ugly phase. It's working through that ugly phase, just like when I was a teenager and I hit puberty. That was my ugly art phase. We all go through it. Let's go and let's tap a little more with our RV04. So again, any of these darker areas where it kind of touches light a little bit, looks like it's kind of dragging down like a waterfall. You're just going to tap it. Oh goodness. There we go. Nice little taps. You don't need to overindulge here. We just want little bitty pieces. There we go. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So I'm going to cap these guys. Oh, and I realized I had saw a comment a little while ago I thought was interesting and a really good point. Some people are having issues like capping and recapping these guys because it was a little tight, and we want it to be tight, absolutely. But in order to really cap or recap, just twist. It's like so easy. That's the secret to it, because I know just pulling straight out, it's a lot. But the moment you twist, it comes right off. So just a little, just a little thing to recognize. Okay, we're going to go back to our first colors, our R5.3, R5.1, because this is what art is. It's going back and forth. I told you guys we were going to bring it back in. All right, so using our lighter tone, we're going to go in again, right under and sometimes over those dark pink or brightest pink. Don't be afraid here to apply a little bit of pressure, because in the end it is going to just sort of enhance that experience. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna move away from this guy and we're going to move over to one of the other donuts because we want this alcohol to dry so we can keep working it. If we keep working it the way that it is, it's gonna keep bleeding. Cheryl, I'm going to order the chisel ends today. I don't think I wanted them till you started talking about it last week and showing us. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of people, the brush is like very much an everything. Like, you can use the brush for like everything, but there are really specific things I want to use the chisel for, and a lot of times it's really specific colors that I like to use the chisel for. I had mentioned last week one of my favorite things to use the chisel for is actually the 0. This week I am going to be using a brush because I tend to favor the chisel a lot, so we're going to try it with the brush. But that's just one of my favorites, so I always recommend, like, hey, like, just try one. Pick like your favorite color, or pick like a really, really crazy color, and go with that, because it's such a great way to accent things. The chisel's so good for accenting. All right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop talking. We're gonna get back to coloring. Let's do this guy up here. I was thinking like almost like a Boston cream, but it has a donut hole. And we're going to use something pretty cool. Oh my, where did I put it? Oh goodness, this is just like me. Just like me. Okay, we're going to use one of our newer colors, the RK. So the RK is a red black. I'm going to unscrew this, and we're literally going to go right on this because this frosting is going to be, well, black. And I'm going to show you why it's an RK, because we're going to double up on it and use the 0 to bleed. Every color I use is my favorite. I'm living them. Oh, that's so wonderful. All right, so this one is going to be the easiest donut we do, but it will probably be the scariest that we do. So what we're going to do is gently just bring this around, little brush strokes, because again, Olo, very, very saturated. If you go outside the lines, don't worry about it too much. We can always fix it. That's why we have a 0. we can push it right back inside. And this time I do want you to touch that edge. It's not often I say touch the edge, but I do want you to touch the edge. There we go. It's going in there. I do apologize if I'm talking too much today. I think I had a little too much coffee. So I'm like extra hyper, and it's getting warm out. I have a plum blossom tree and it's starting to bloom, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so we have the outside. It looks horrible. What we're going to do is we are going to mark off an area we want a shine. And it's going to kind of follow that donut shape. I'm just going to leave a little opening there. And for this to get a larger fill, I am using the edge of the brush here. It tends to just push things around a little smoother. And we're just going to leave that ugly sliver kind of just there. We might want to do one extra little sliver, so I'm just going to kind of mark that off and just follow the grain. Follow that around. There we go. I'm always scared going in with dark colors first because I was trained to do light first, do your fill, and then do darker colors as accents. So I have been retraining myself to be a little more bold and go dark and push to light. Use your light as a blender. So that has been a really fun challenge for me. There we go. All right, you might notice I didn't color the inside because we didn't get to doing the actual crust yet. But we're gonna get there, don't worry. All right, so this looks pretty good. Let's readjust that a little bit. Whoops, put a little mark there. Oh well. It's just what happens. Let's just a little bit more. There we go. Playing with that camera so much this week. Okay. There we go. So let's put this guy right over here. We're probably going to go back in and use him. Let's go to our 0. So I'm going to twist this cap off. And the white area here, I'm just going to run over. And we are going to let this bleed. And this is a really cool thing because then you can start to see where it just starts to push. What I like about this is you start to see why it is called RK, or red black. Yeah, as a painter first, I have to think my coloring approach when it comes to markers. Yes, it's true, because it is a different medium. You know, you have all the knowledge inside your brain, like how things push and pull together, but every medium reacts a little differently. And even within marker, every marker reacts a little differently, and depending on the paper you use, and there's a lot of things that come into play here. All right, so we're getting a really cool looking bleed here. This is almost watercolor looking, and if I keep saturating, it's going to keep bleeding. If you keep doing it, it can eventually get muddy. So you do want to control it. So we're going to leave it for now. Let it do its bleed. Cap this guy. And let's just tighten up some of this. So we're going to go back to our RK and just tighten up. So I want you to go straight to the edge here. Because I want to get back to that very dark black. There we go. Because we want to have that really cool contrast. Ooh, my apologies. Let's pull this back out a little bit because I think we're having some focus issues. There we go. Okay. My apologies with the camera work, because sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. It's always a work in progress and always trying to get better. All right, so we're gonna let this guy kind of dry. Let's move on to our next two. So I was thinking this one was like a maple flavored one. So for that, we're going to be using a red gray. This is another one of our new colors. Let's go ahead and swatch that. I did not swatch the red black, which I should have, but it really does come out as black until you really bleed it or have it next to a cooler tone. You don't notice it right away. You can see on here, I actually covered these guys up a little bit. You can see where the red kind of seeps in with that gray, which I really like. So we're going to be using that. Perfect. And we are, let's see, we're going with a maple, so we're also going to be using a yellow orange 2.7. So this is going to be our darker tone. Yeah, there we go. Very nice. All right, so this guy is our RG3 and our yellow orange 2.7. Okay. Wait, was it 2.7 or 2.5? No, I don't remember. Yes, it was 2.7. That's what happens when you work with so many different colors. Goodness. Okay, we're going to start off with our gray. Let me move these guys over so I have it. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to treat it similar to this guy. Instead of going all the way to the edge, though, what I want you to do, stick to more of the center. Don't really touch that edge. We want to use that to sort of create our highlight. We want to round it out. But the rest of this, just have fun. Just fill it in. Go crazy. You can stipple, you can go, try and follow the grain if you can, but because we have this drizzle on here, it's a little harder to follow. That's okay though. All right, we have a drip right here, kind of goes inside. And just fill it in. Let the alcohol do a lot of the work for you here. That's all you need. Okay. All right, and we have a little showing of the cake part there too. Here we go. Okay. Cap that for now. Put that up there. Now this guy, very unlike that brown scale. So you want to use this kind of sparingly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around that edge that we created and just dot. That's it, just dot. We're going to go back to our red gray. And what I want you to do is gently stroke over the top of that and start pulling upward. So stroke, pull upward. Because we want to take this brown into the folds of this red gray. You can see now where it's starting to push. We're starting to warp that color a little bit. So it's not as harsh a brown. We're bringing it into the folds of that red. Pull. That's all we're doing. Not worrying about anything. Accidents happen. Hey, let it flow. It's the fun part about it. There we go. Okay. All right. Now for this edge that we have along here, we're going to go tour 0. Love it. So before, what we did is we took our red gray, we pulled upward. We're going to go over it and pull down now. So let's go over and make some room towards the bottom. Go over it a couple times. Don't be afraid. These are your markers. You show them what you want to be done. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Just go over it. Let that crazy bleed happen. Don't worry about it. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to let it dry. We're going to go over it again. Let that really cool bleed start to come on in. We want to have some fun with that. All right, let this guy, let's kind of sweat it out a little bit. Let's move on to this guy. This, we're going to have vanilla frosting. But we're almost going to have like a lemon hint to it. Is anyone getting hungry yet? I'm getting hungry. For this guy. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy. Technical difficulties. So sorry. Goodness. My apologies, everyone. Having a little technical difficulty. My camera has decided it does not want to stand anymore. There we go. My apologies, everyone, for that. Let's put a reminder for myself to get rid of that in the replay. Okay, here we go. Sorry. All right, we're going to be using yellow 1.1 on the other end, a yellow 2.2. So 2.2, 1.1. And again, we're going to be using this sparingly. We're going to be using a lot of the page to tell what this tasty like lemon vanilla flavor. I am curious to see like what Alisa based these donuts on. And I wonder how right I am about it. Okay, there we go. So for this one, we're going to take our lighter tone, our Y 1.1. For this, we're actually going to go to the edge, just very softly bring it around. We're not even going to do a lot of coloring on this guy. We're not worried. This one, you can go over the little pebbles. I think those are nuts. There we go. So we're just doing the edges of this one. Take your 2-2. And this one, you need to use the very, very, very tip here. So if you struggle a little bit, you can get really close to the tip. I actually recommend doing the opposite with your hand, is actually pulling further out. Rest your wrist, if you can, on the paper. And instead, just very gently dab the very edge. So super, super, super soft. We're making a really light blend. So this is what's going to bring people in to like really look at your piece. Like, oh, look at that little bit of work. Just very, very tip, little dabs here on the very bottom part of that yellow that you put in there. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we've had some time to let this guy dry. So he should be good to go now. So we're going to go in with pink again. So we're going to go back to our R 5.3 and 5.1. We're going back to our base tones, the first ones that we started with on this. Let's go back in here. Put this. Beautiful. Start with your lighter tone. And we're going to go back in to where we have that darker pink. Just going to run our color right over it. We're going to blend it out some more. So what's nice about the ink that we use inside these markers is you can basically reactivate it with that marker because the alcohol will just pick it right up and start pushing it. So you can do it. So if you want to work on something and you see it getting kind of like really runny, let it dry. Go back in a little bit. It's absolutely a wonderful thing to do. It'll save you on paper as well. Because if you keep saturating paper, eventually it's going to go, no, I can't do this anymore. But thank you. There we go. Switch over to our darker. And again, we're really just working in those darker points. We're going to take this darker tone here, and on this edge of our marker, we want to gently dab and fill in that white space because we are making that shadow. Same thing here. We still want some of that white to show here. So what I'm going to do, again, you can get in really, really, really close to that. I recommend pulling away to the under end and kind of resting your wrist and just gently following that edge. Let me try and pull away and still use that. And again, you want to try and use the tip as much as possible for these smaller things. Things like this, I do recommend the chisel. Not necessary at all, because you can see that I'm able to do it with the brush. But I just feel like the chisel has a little more control and you know, just with this smaller stuff, the chisel really very much shines. Gotta let, like, it's such an underappreciated part of not just oval, but like any marker. You know, it's where the markers really started, was like the chisel. Like, oh, look at this. Going back to college and watching my professor just render like an Oldsmobile with it and just be like, oh my gosh, he just went in there and did it. It's pretty wild. All right, there we go. Let's flip back over. Do our soft. Blend this guy. Let's have some fun. Here we go. Oh, she's looking so nice. Look at how drippy that looks. Like, I am ready to eat this donut. All right. We had that. This guy needs a little bit of love because you can see we're getting that bleed in there. That's actually looking very cool because it looks like it's fading into um, the the crust, we'll call it, or the donut innards. So we're gonna work along this guy. This guy is done. I told you he's gonna be the scariest, but he's the easiest. That one tone with your zero, you can't go wrong with it. You really can't. Okay. So this guy, we are going to grab our gray again. So again, this is the RG3. If you do not have the RG3, you can use a warm gray as well. I do recommend trying to stick to that mid-tone though. So like a 234 is really, really good for that. So if you don't have the red gray, that's okay. All right, so we're gonna go over this again. And this is, again, it's going to mellow out that orange just a little bit more. We're going to bring it into the folds of this and get like a really, just a tasty look. Because it's pretty rare that things are just one color. Like, that's such a rare thing. You normally have multitudes of colors. And it cascades in the light. Acts very differently. We're going to try and keep that outer edge not clean. You know, I'm definitely not a clean artist. You might be. I am not. I explore by making a mess. So we're starting there. We're pulling up. We're going around. We're following that shape of our friend, this donut. sorry, excuse me. That was my foot. There we go. Ooh, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. What do you say we add the drizzle on top of here? And let's do something radical with it. Cheryl, are you going to put these colors in this page, or should I write these down? I am going, after the stream, I will be adding this to the description. So no worries, I will take care of that. Because I know it's a little wild. In the future, I will be putting the list of colors up ahead of time and also utilizing some of our themes on our website. So no worries. I will absolutely be taking care of that. Okay, let's try something really fun for this drizzle on top of here. Have something a little different. We are going to be using a blue-green 08. Oh, no problem, Cheryl. No problem. Look at how wild this guy is. Nice and dark. It's one of my favorites. This guy's deep sea, and I really do love it. Blue-green 0.8. So 0 meaning it has the most amount of color in it of the blue greens, and 8 meaning it is a darker color. We're going to take it and we're just going to dab the center. You can even miss areas too. We're making little dots here. Again, if you're having trouble with the little dots, you can get in closer, or you can pull further out. I find pulling further out it's a little more chaotic, but it's just a very organic and more natural looking, which I know right now you're like, oh my gosh, what are you even talking about? This doesn't look like anything. This looks like I poured toothpaste on my donut. And for that I say, the fluoride, I'm sure, is good for your teeth. But no. This is the first step. There we go. Very nice. All right. I'm going to cap that. We may go back to it, so I'm going to put it right up here top so I can quickly grab it. And now we're going to use blue 03. And I know this looks a little green on my camera. This is actually a very nice pale blue, so I do know that there's a little bit of color distortion here. Look at how nice that is. It is such a really nice pale blue. This guy is kyanite. B0.3. There we go. Get ready for the easiest thing you've done all day outside of this donut. I'm going to pull away a little bit. And I'm just going to nicely saturate this. And if I accidentally went inside here with the brown, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let that blue push it right out of the way. Notice how it's starting to lighten that darker. That is in part because we're adding a color that is closer to it, but also because, again, when we reactivate that color with the alcohol on top, what it does is it starts to naturally lighten and push. So just keep going over it. Go ahead, just keep pushing. Have fun. I just love this combination of colors. And notice that just, boo, it pops right out versus the very neutral background. It super pops. All right, let's let that rest for a second. I would definitely eat this donut. Absolutely. Let's do some of our sprinkles. And again, we're going to fall back on the same two colors we just used for that. So let's start off with the B03 since it's what I have in my hand right now. I'm just gonna go in and just pick some of these little guys. You're gonna use the very, very, very edge, the very tip. Again, if you're not sure, just do little dabs. If you're really confident, go ahead and just swipe right on there. Pick random ones. You could do all of them the same color if you want. This is, this is your donut. You make it however you want. I love blue sprinkles though. All right. Let me go ahead, switch back over to my blue green. We're gonna make this guy pop, huh? Now this one's really dark. This is a super, super, super dark one. So this one, you really just want to gently dab. These guys are juicy. So you want to work with that bleed, not against it. This is one of the things I love about Olo, is I'm never worried about these guys like running out. I know that's a weird thing. Yes, they do eventually. Yes, they do. But these guys just carry so much ink inside of them that you could just go for a long time. I think I've, at this point, only really replaced like 2 of the markers since I got them. By replace, I mean I got a cartridge replacement, because that's like really where you get a lot of your the bang for your buck is instead of like refilling, getting those cartridges, because they last a long time. And then you could do things like this where you just leave the marker open while you're working and you don't need to keep on like going back to it. All right, so we got some cool blue sprinkles. I'm gonna cap this guy. I'll probably go back to it. That's just me. And let's go ahead and we're gonna grab our RV04, a really, really, really crazy. It's this guy right here. Again, this is the one that I had the chisel for. And we're just going to use the very tip of the chisel. Like, look at how easy that is for me to just put on. The chisel is just so accurate. And the real secret to it is just anchor your arm to the way you need to brush. So if the sprinkle is heading in this direction, I'm literally just going to angle myself to match it and just put down and stroke. Super, super easy. So this guy, a little more vertical. There we go. Boom. Beautiful. So the chisel has so many cool uses. Again, I'm not going for perfection. We're coloring. We're having a fun time. I can't wait to see what everyone's donuts look like. All right, we'll leave some of these, we'll leave some of them white. Why not? All right, we got to get the nuts that are up here. So we are actually going to go right back to our RG3. Because why overcomplicate it? Let's use what we have. Okay, let's go ahead and just little dabs. And it's going to go right over, no problem at all. Here we go. Very nice. A little messy. That's okay. Also get some of the crumbs down here. Looking very cute. All right. So now let's actually do the baked part now that we've gotten all the frosting out of the way. And this is really going to bring pretty much everything together. So let's do it. So we are going to be working with our red gray 3. We may have a little RK, little bit, tiny little bit We are going to be using our yellow orange 2.7 and our yellow orange 2.5. So to start with our strawberry donut, we're going to use our yellow orange 2.5, which I didn't swatch on here. My goodness. Let's quickly get that down. It would not be a stream with me if I didn't forget something. 2.5, there we go. All right, so let's start with that. Pretty simple stuff. We're not going really crazy with this. Just stroke right on there. Follow the way that the donut rolls. Because when you think about it, you want to treat this like you would a tire. You want to roll a tire, you're not going to push it. You're going to put it up on a side, and you're going to roll with it. That was a bad analogy. Very cool. Wow, looks like a donut. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with the rest of these guys. Unless you want a chocolate donut. In which case, which this guy, I think we're going to do chocolate. So let's just fill these guys in really quick. Except for this one. Oh, whoops. Leave him. Don't forget the inside. There we go. So these guys are going to be like your fried donuts. I mean, there's a couple different kinds of donuts, but there's cake donuts and fried donuts. Right, so this kind of is like dripping onto it. So we have go there. Wow, it's already looking more donutty. Make this guy chocolate. So for that, we're going to switch over to our 2.7. Yay. Oh, sorry. Fill this in. It's only a little bit darker, but this is going to set the groundwork for a darker donut. All right, this one already looks a little darker. Awesome. Do not forget the inside. I only say that because when I first colored this, I forgot that, and I wondered why it looks so weird. We all have that time. Okay. Wow. Donutty. Okay. Now, let's go to our red gray and our RK. Red gray. We're gonna do on our normal like fried donuts. And we're first just gonna go under our delicious frosting. I'm gonna just add a little shadow to that. There we go. Same thing for the inside. Don't forget the inside. I'm gonna keep saying that. There we go. Same thing over here. Let's clear up. You're gonna see these like little divots in here. Don't be afraid to take your R gray and dab right on top of it, because that's you're making the texture. You know, like that's the tasty texture. Okay. Looking pretty good. Let's go into the RK. So the RK we saved for this guy. And this, you need to be sparing. Little dots. Little dots. Underneath there. Very similar to what we did with these other guys. But we're also going to do it on the bottom here, because we're going to round this out. Whoops, went inside there. That's okay. Okay. So, go back to our yellow orange 2.7. This is our base tone for our, our dark chocolate donut. Roll right over it. Don't be afraid to really saturate this. I don't know why I kept this one. All right. There. Going back to our RK. Now that it's nice and saturated, go ahead, put another little bit of the RK down. And I literally want to have you watch the way that that just easily spreads. So we set that groundwork, kind of just let it go. Don't be afraid to put some little dots using the very tip inside there, because again, we need that texturing. And don't forget the inside. Yep, dot, 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 dot. There we go. Again, put it down, saturate it. Let these guys flow. Just like you would let watercolor flow. You know, you don't control watercolor. You kind of let it do what it's going to do, and you kind of accommodate for it. You can't control it, but you can work with it. Ooh, chocolatey. Very, very nice. So with the little bit of time that we have left, let's maybe add a tiny little design on our napkin that they're sitting on. And we could very simply do it. You can do any kind of design that you want. You can fill this in if you would like. What I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm going to take the RV04. Again, I'm using it again because it has the chisel, because I really, really like it to just, it's very easy to control. And I'm just going to do a little dash pattern. So dash, 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 dash across. And I'm going to use the very edge, that very tip again, my favorite part of the chisel to do that. So I'm just going to gently pull that out. Don't worry about it being perfect because this is a napkin. So you'll notice that it's folding and stuff. So don't worry about it being perfect. Even if it's a little messy, hey, it's okay. All right, go over it one more time. Again, you'll notice I'm very much using my wrist with this. You know, you can get a whole arm action in there if you want, but you don't have to. Doesn't need to be an exercise. Okay, okay. And because I am such a stickler for this color, I'm going to yet again use it and dab. There we go. How cute. Now, if you need to do any kind of cleanup, because maybe you went outside the lines a little bit like I did, sometimes the bleed is going to spread a little bit more than you wanted, just go right in with your zero and dab where it went outside the lines. Add a little bit. You don't need to like push or really do anything. Just dab the very outer edge and you just push it right back in. Careful not to oversaturate though. You oversaturate, it starts moving in the opposite direction that you want and spreading. So you want to always go from like the outside in, put a little bit on there and kind of see where it pushes. If it's getting muddy, just take a step back, let it do its thing, let it dry, and go back over it again. That way, you're taking back that bit of control there. Here we go. Even inside here, I can go in with the 0. Start to just push that. I can also go in with the actual tone that I used here, which was the gray. Which actually, let's do that. Let's go and grab it with the little bit of time that we have left. Go ahead and just pull that in. Because this is also dry, like, don't be afraid to add some more of, your shadows. Never too late to add more shadows, especially if they're a nice little mid-tone like this. Okay, I believe we have some donuts. Definitely all over the place, a lot of fun. Right after this, I will be posting all the colors that we use, so if you want to follow along, or if you got a little bit lost, no worries. The 0 is amazing. It works so good. I know because I've used it a lot. Yeah, me too. What I was saying before is the 0 is the one I have gotten. I've replaced 2 cartridges of it because I use it so much. Beautiful. So here is our donuts. And like I said, you can change this around, or whatever we did. Try it with different colors, because as long as you're following, those color families that we have here, where, your 0 straight up to your 8s. So 0 is like super saturated, as close to the color that you're going to get, versus the least amount of saturation, whereas that second is the value, how light or dark it is. It just makes it takes all the guesswork out. It really is wonderful. They are beautiful. Thank you, Mina. See you next week. Absolutely. Oh goodness, thank you. Um, you can see my ring light and everything. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, or any type of light art that you would like to see colored, please let us know. Um, until next time, until next week, I will see you guys, and have a wonderful and colorful day. This is Mina from Olo. Take care, creatives. Yeah, thank you, everyone.